I never thought my marriage would unravel over a single note left behind. It was a quiet Saturday morning, and I woke expecting the familiar aroma of fresh coffee and the gentle sound of Eleanor moving through her home. But instead of that comforting routine, I was met with an unsettling silence and a folded letter resting on her nightstand. Myron, I need to do this. Please don't be angry. I just need to try something different. I'll be back by Monday. Please wait. We'll talk then. No expressions of love. No warmth tucked between the lines. Just distant, emotionless words. I stared at the letter, a dull, persistent ache blooming in my chest. This wasn't like Eleanor. She never made spur-of-the-moment decisions. Every aspect of her life was carefully mapped out. I tried to reason with myself, maybe she truly needed a short break, some personal time to reset. But deep inside, a sinking feeling began to settle. A feeling I couldn't ignore no matter how much I wanted to. She wasn't simply stepping away for a weekend. She was stepping away from me. I wandered aimlessly through the house, clinging to the hope that she had just run out for breakfast. But it became harder to believe that illusion with each step. Her favorite clothes were no longer in the closet. The travel bag she only used for serious trips had vanished. Even the expensive perfume she reserved for rare occasions was missing from the dresser. That was when it hit me like a punch to the gut. She wasn't off finding herself. She had made a decision, one I hadn't been part of. Sitting at the kitchen table, I stared at my phone, torn. Part of me wanted to call her right away to demand an explanation. But another part, fueled by pride, warned me to wait, to avoid looking desperate. Yet the longer I hesitated, the more I felt myself being pulled into a spiral of doubt and fear. Just as I was about to give in and dial her number, a notification lit up my phone screen. A message from her best friend. Myron, I'm not sure if I should be telling you this, but you need to know what's really going on. I barely had time to react before another message arrived. As soon as I read it, a chill ran through my entire body. I stayed frozen, clutching my phone, heart pounding so loud it echoed in my ears. My thumb hovered above the screen, hesitant. Did I really want to know what came next? A voice in my head screamed at me to ignore it, to shut the phone and wait for Eleanor to come back, pretending this whole episode had just been a strange blip. Maybe she really was searching for clarity. But deep down, I already knew better. The truth was coming, and it would change everything. With a breath that felt like it might collapse in my chest, I tapped the screen. Eleanor didn't go away alone, Myron. She's with someone else. I overheard her talking about it last week. She said she wanted to see what else life could offer. I didn't want to be the one to break this to you, but I couldn't keep it from you either. Those words made the floor seem like it had disappeared beneath me. My entire body felt numb, as though I was watching this unfold from outside myself. See what else life could offer? It wasn't just the betrayal that tore at me, it was the way she had spoken. Like I was a worn-out option she was discarding for something shinier and new. Like the past 9 years meant absolutely nothing. I clenched my jaw, trying to control the storm of emotions crashing inside me. A part of me itched to call her immediately and confront her. Another part wanted to disappear without a word, leave her to return to an empty house. But I wasn't ready to walk away, not until I had more answers. My fingers trembled slightly as I texted back. Do you know who he is? There was a pause. Long enough for a dozen scenarios to flash through my mind. An old flame? A colleague from work? Someone random she met online? Finally, the reply came. I don't know his name, but she met him a few months ago. She told another friend that he made her feel things she hadn't felt in years. I'm so sorry, Myron. I let out a brittle, joyless laugh. Excited her? That's what this came down to? I thought about all the moments I'd spent trying to be the best partner I could be, every spontaneous dinner, every time I held her close when she was breaking down, every quiet evening where I gave her space. None of it seemed to matter. None of it had been enough. Because now, some stranger had stirred something in her I couldn't. My teeth ground together as I stood up, pacing the kitchen floor. My thoughts were racing, options swimming through my head. I could wait here and pretend nothing had happened, let her return and lie to my face like it was all fine. Or I could take a different path, one where I wasn't the one left waiting. And in that moment, something inside me shifted. For the first time in nearly a decade, I realized I didn't need to wait for her permission to move forward. I didn't have to be the man she abandoned. I could become someone else entirely, someone new. I remained standing in that silent kitchen, my phone still clutched tightly in my hand like it was the only thing anchoring me to the world. My heart was pounding so forcefully it felt like it might break through my chest. But around me, everything was eerily still. Eleanor was no longer just out of the house, she had gone somewhere far more distant and not alone. She had made her decision. And now it was time for me to make mine. But before I could figure out what came next, my thoughts pulled me backward, unraveling every moment of our relationship, tearing each memory apart. I remembered how she used to look at me when we were younger as if I was everything to her. How she'd reach for my hand beneath the dinner table during family meals just to feel close. How she would softly say she loved me before falling asleep in the dark. At what point did all of that begin to fade? When did I stop being enough for her? I sifted through the past few months, trying to catch the signs I had ignored. The constant late nights at work. Weekend trips she said were with friends, but always vague. The sudden shift in her appearance, new clothes, luxurious lingerie she never wore for me. She had been emotionally distancing herself for a long time, and I had chosen not to see it. My jaw tightened as I swallowed the bitter realization. I wasn't going to sit here wallowing in the aftermath of our broken marriage. I needed to take action. I yanked a duffel bag from the closet and began stuffing my belongings inside. I didn't have a destination in mind, only the certainty that I wouldn't be around when she came home. But just as I zipped the bag shut, my phone vibrated. Another message. I almost ignored it, unsure if I could handle more heartbreak. But curiosity got the better of me, and what I read changed everything. Myron, I just saw something. You should know where Eleanor is. I'm sending the address. A second later, a location appeared on the screen. My plans shifted instantly. I wasn't leaving. Not yet. I needed to see the truth for myself before walking away forever. I stared at the glowing pin, my hands cold, the sound of my heartbeat steady and loud in my ears. The address wasn't a hotel or a romantic hideaway. It wasn't a retreat nestled in the mountains. It was just a house. A regular home in a neighborhood that meant nothing to me. And I knew whoever she was with, they lived there. A part of me hesitated. Did I really want to witness this? Was I prepared to see her with someone else? Then my mind returned to the letter she had left behind, the way she hadn't even told me face to face. She had expected me to wait around, clueless and loyal. No. I had to see it with my own eyes. I grabbed my car keys and hit the road. With every mile, I felt myself changing. The man who had woken up that morning, the one who believed in forgiveness and holding on, he was gone. What was left was someone unfamiliar. And that scared me. As I pulled into the neighborhood, my stomach twisted. It was one of those quiet, picture-perfect areas with manicured lawns, kids' bicycles scattered across driveways, and porch lights glowing softly in the dark. And then I saw it, the house from the message. The place where my wife was, right at that moment. I parked a little down the road, gripping the steering wheel so tightly my hands hurt. I didn't know what I had expected to find, but what I saw knocked the breath out of me. Her car. Parked openly in the driveway. She hadn't even tried to be discreet. My fingers itched to dial her number, to demand answers. But what was the point? The truth was staring me in the face. My vision blurred slightly, as if I was watching someone else's life. I should have left then. Turned around and never looked back. But then the front door swung open. That's when I saw him. He wasn't anyone I knew. Tall. Fit. Probably in his late 20s. He stood in the doorway laughing at something inside. And then Eleanor stepped out. She looked different. Lighter. As though she had just enjoyed the most relaxing weekend of her life. She smiled in a way I hadn't seen in years. And at that moment, something deep inside me broke, not because of what she had done or with whom, but because of the harsh truth that hit me. She wasn't coming back. Not to me. Not to what we had. The woman I loved, the one I built my life with, she had already left long before that weekend. I had just refused to see it. I remained in the car, motionless, for what felt like hours. Watching her smile, watching her gently touch his arm, leaning into him as though I had never existed in her world. And then, without another second of hesitation, I started the engine and drove away. Not because I was defeated. Not because I had given up. But because for the first time in nearly a decade I understood what freedom felt like. The drive back felt almost dreamlike. My hands stayed on the wheel, but I barely registered the turns, the stops, or the lights. My body functioned on instinct, while my thoughts looped over what I had witnessed. Eleanor, standing at the threshold of another man's home, laughing into the night like she hadn't just destroyed everything we had built together. There was no doubt in her expression, no trace of guilt. She never glanced back, never hesitated, never seemed concerned that I might uncover the truth, because she already knew I would. And still, it didn't matter to her. As I pulled into the driveway, the beams from my headlights illuminated the front of the house. It looked exactly as it had that morning, but everything had changed. The house, me. This wasn't home anymore. The instant I walked inside, a crushing emptiness engulfed me. Her scent still lingered. A soft, floral perfume clinging to the fabric of the couch and curtains. Her coffee mug sat where she left it on the kitchen counter, and one of her sweaters was draped over a chair. It felt like she had just stepped out and might return at any moment. But I knew she wouldn't, and deep down I didn't want her to. I stood motionless in the entryway, staring at the remnants of what we once shared. Framed photographs smiled down from the walls, capturing moments when we appeared happy. But were we ever truly happy? Books she had been reading were still stacked on the coffee table. The blanket she used while watching TV lay folded on the couch. Anger should have been burning through me. Resentment should have taken hold. Instead, all I felt was an aching void. I made my way toward our bedroom and paused at the door. The bed was perfectly made, just the way she always left it. I stepped inside slowly, my gaze drawn to her nightstand. That was where she had left the note. Something in me cracked wide open. I snatched the note, tearing it in half, then into quarters, and kept going until all that remained were tiny fragments scattered across the floor. Even that didn't feel like enough. The house felt more like a tomb than a home, a monument to a relationship that had already crumbled. The air inside felt suffocating. I needed to get out. I grabbed a suitcase and tossed in the essentials. Some clothes, toiletries, my laptop. The rest could stay. The photos, the gifts, the memories we had built together. I didn't want any of it anymore. Once the bag was zipped, my decision was final. I wouldn't be there when she returned. She expected everything to be just as she had left it. The same man, the same life waiting for her. But that version of me no longer existed. I picked up my keys, glanced around at the place we once called home, and stepped outside. This time I didn't look back. As I pulled away from the house, the weight of nearly a decade of shared life pressed against my chest. Yet, strangely, I didn't feel trapped by it anymore. I had stopped waiting for Eleanor to come back. Stopped clinging to the hope that we could salvage something that had already been lost. She had made her decision. Now I had made mine. I drove for hours with no destination in mind. The highway stretched endlessly ahead, my headlights slicing through the night. My mind raced faster than the car, thoughts tangled in a whirlwind. It wasn't until I crossed the city limits that I finally exhaled. I checked into a hotel not out of necessity, but because I needed solitude. No calls, no messages, no one asking for explanations. The room was small, nondescript, and perfectly empty of her. No remnants of our life together. Just four walls and the stillness I craved. Sitting on the edge of the bed, I stared down at my phone. My fingers hovered above her contact, hesitating. What could I possibly say? That I had seen her? That I knew the truth? That I had been living a lie? None of it mattered anymore. She had already spoken her truth through her actions. Instead, I turned to my laptop and logged into our bank account. 9 years of combined finances, savings meant for shared dreams, now meant nothing. The future we planned had dissolved. All that remained were two separate paths. I wasn't going to let her come back and decide when it was over. I was going to make that choice myself. I spent the next few hours shifting funds, separating accounts, and drafting legal documents. If she wanted something different, she would have it. She would come home expecting routine, expecting me, but she'd walk into silence. No partner waiting, no shared space, just emptiness and a single envelope resting on the kitchen counter. Inside it, she would find what she never anticipated. Not a desperate letter asking for closure, not an outburst filled with blame, just a single document. The divorce papers, already signed, already filed, no turning back. This time I wasn't the one left behind. This time I was the one closing the door. Sunday night passed quietly. I didn't check my phone. I didn't let my thoughts drift to where she might be or who she was with. I had mourned everything that night, the dreams, the love, the years. There was nothing left to grieve. When Monday morning arrived, I woke up feeling a strange sense of freedom, something I hadn't felt in years. Eleanor would be returning today. I could see it so clearly in my mind, her unlocking the front door, stepping inside, expecting everything to be exactly the same. Maybe she had even rehearsed a few words. Something to explain why she needed a little time away. She still claimed to care for me. Said we needed to communicate. that not everything was as clear-cut as it seemed. I wasn't there to witness her reaction when she stepped into the silent, empty house, but I knew the precise moment she found the divorce papers. My phone lit up like a siren piercing the stillness of the morning. Eleanor. 7:42 a.m., where are you? I didn't reply. Eleanor. 7:45 a.m., Myron, seriously. Where the hell are you? I took a slow sip of my coffee, leaned back against the firm mattress in the hotel room and simply let the messages sit unread. Eleanor. 7:50 a.m., why is your stuff gone? What is this? By this, she meant the papers I left behind. She likely thought she was in control, certain that I would be waiting when she returned from her little escapade, confused, yearning for answers. She believed she could drag the situation out, manipulate it to her favor, hold me hostage emotionally while she figured herself out. But she came home to discover that I had already made my decision. I turned the phone over, face down, letting her texts stack up without response. Then came the call that shifted everything. By noon, I had gathered my belongings and officially checked out. I didn't have a clear destination in mind, but one thing was absolutely certain: I wasn't stepping back into that house ever again. I had just reached my car when the phone rang, not a message, not a missed call, an actual voice call. I almost ignored it. But curiosity, or maybe the part of me that wanted to hear her voice full of panic, won. At first, there was just the sound of her breathing. Then came her voice, shaky and unsteady. Myron, where are you? I didn't respond right away. I let the silence do the talking. Eventually, I asked, why do you care? You left, she said, her voice tinged with disbelief. You just left. I let out a laugh, a real one, because the irony was too much. You left too, Eleanor, I said calmly. You just didn't think I'd do the same. She went quiet. And for the first time in what seemed like forever, she had no words. Then, so softly I could barely hear her, she whispered, can we talk? I closed my eyes and let the moment sink in, the shift in power, the realization dawning on her that she wasn't steering this anymore. She had assumed I'd still be standing there, waiting. But that man was gone. I think we already did, I told her. And with that, for the first time in 9 years, I ended the call on my wife. The moment I pressed that button, a profound stillness settled over me. It wasn't fueled by resentment or sorrow. It was something far rarer: peace. I was no longer weighed down by our fractured relationship. No longer holding out for Eleanor to determine my value. I wasn't living in limbo, bracing for her decision. I had finally made mine. As the sun began to peek over the horizon, its soft golden light spilled across the city skyline. It felt like the universe was quietly affirming this was my new beginning. I got behind the wheel and started driving. Not as an escape, but as a step forward. Toward a future I had never dared to imagine before. A future where I could breathe. Where I wouldn't wake each day questioning my worth. Where my joy didn't rely on someone else's uncertainty. Midway through the journey, I noticed a small cafe nestled off the highway. I hadn't planned to stop, but the inviting glow from its windows pulled me in. I walked in, ordered a coffee, and found a seat by the window. As I looked out, I felt something unfamiliar stretch across my face, a smile. I didn't have a roadmap. No elaborate plan for what lay ahead. But deep down, I understood something vital. Whatever was coming next, it was mine. And that alone? That was more than enough.